Right, some bad news on the development front. One of the parts failed quality control. We know how to fix it, but it'll take some extra resource. It's on hold for now, but you can order the extra work from the laptop at any time.
Embarrassing. Really embarrassing.
No. No. Right when it started to look like we were getting on a roll with the development parts, it's failed. Welcome to career mode, guys. Welcome to my reality with McLaren Honda. As you can see, a lot of the teams around us are developing quite rapidly, and unfortunately we just can't keep up with that development process, which is really annoying. I feel like we've had more parts fail than what they have succeed, which is really annoying. You compare that to Arab's career mode. He doesn't spend any money on the quality control in his R&D career, and basically all of his parts succeed, which is complete bullcrap. But here we are for the Singapore Grand Prix. I'm not going to let that, I don't know, somber my mood too much, because we are at one of the few tracks on the calendar where we can potentially get some points. So hopefully some solid championship points are heading our way, and we can get ourselves back inside the top 10 for the drivers' standing. So yeah, if you're new to this series, make sure you subscribe to the channel to see plenty more career mode videos. We will be sticking with this McLaren Honda until we win the championship, or until F1 2018 comes out. Not too sure which is going to win. It's I think it's even money at this stage, but Friday practice, running through all the practice programs, we were pretty much on the pace. After our qualifying pace run, we got inside the top 10 before being knocked out to P11, so we're there or thereabouts in terms of pace. We haven't looked this good in practice all season, so I don't know, the spirit, the morale is looking pretty high as we head into qualifying. We got the purple resource point score as well, so we might potentially be able to fix up that botched upgrade that failed for us earlier in time for the next race in Japan.
The sky is dark and the lights are on. Welcome to qualifying here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore.
Okay, so here we are for qualifying for the Singapore Grand Prix. Like I said, the pace, at least in practice, was looking very solid. Hopefully, we can get ourselves inside the top 15 for qualifying, which we haven't managed to do all season. So fingers crossed, this can be the session that we manage to do it. Unfortunately, I didn't upgrade, or I didn't swap in a brand new power unit. I used one that was slightly used, like 20-30%. So that was my mistake, and hopefully it doesn't cost us in this session. So far, it's been a fairly solid lap. We're going to come across the line with our banker time. Puts us P5, I think it was, provisionally. We go again on that same run, and hopefully we can find a little bit more time. Short qualifying is the session that we're running with. We used it in Monza as well, and I feel like it helped us ever so slightly, though the session time is very limited. Only 2 runs you'll be able to get in, and that is the end of our first. So as we return to the pits, we only have 4 minutes left in the session. It's absolutely outrageous how much time you can lose around Singapore, just simply because the lap is so long. In lap, going in the pits, out lap, and then cycling up for your fast lap. It drains a lot of time, that's for sure. But our final run in the qualifying session, only halfway through the lap we managed to find some time, and we are only up by, what, 2/10 as we go through the midway point of the lap. So the first sector wasn't great. I bottled that a little bit. Got a really bad run out of the final corner to start my lap as I let Carlos Sainz go through. And this third sector, though, was looking quite good. We were briefly up by 5/10, though. As we went under the tunnel there, we lost a couple tenths there as well. So it's a bit of a sketchy lap, up and down here and there. But as we come across the line, we're going to improve by 3.5 tenths and go.
It's a bit disappointing, but
I don't know. It's 18th place. Oh man, you're kidding. I actually thought we were going to be inside the top 15 there. Alonso manages to pull one out and gets 14th place for the session. So if we had full qualifying enabled, he would have been out of qualifying. Well, he would have progressed through to qualifying 2, sorry. But yeah, great position for Alonso. It does show the potential of the car and how we are moving forward and progressing. But yeah, I just didn't get the most out of the car in that session. Completely my fault. stuffed up the lap. Not only in the first sector, but the third sector as well. I bottled it ever so slightly. The middle sector as well was really, really good, and I'll show you guys the split times on screen right now as you compare that to my previous best. Yeah, the middle sector was amazing. Third sector, not so great. I didn't really put a lap together that was overly good. I could have improved by 4, maybe even 5 tenths if I found even more time on the final lap, but yeah, just unfortunate. But as we move on to the race now, we're going to switch in some brand new components. Well, not brand new, slightly used. I believe they've only done the one race, which we did in Monza in the previous episode. So we're going to be switching to Power Unit 3, and hopefully that can give us some performance in the race for the Singapore Grand Prix, where hopefully points are on the table.
It's not going to be plain sailing for our drivers today, although with the sky falling as it is, perhaps sailing isn't too far from the truth. Anthony Davidson, could be a wet one today. Great to have you with us. What are your thoughts?
It is a touch damp, isn't it? Well, as a driver, there are 3 big things to worry about when racing in these kind of conditions: standing water, tyre temperature and visibility. Judging distance to the cars around you is really tricky when you're driving through the vast amounts of spray that these wet weather Pirelli tyres kick up.
Okay, here we go. I know what you can do. Don't let me down.
Okay, so here we are, sat on the grid of the Singapore Grand Prix. I forgot to mention it was going to rain for the race, and as you can see, it's actually spitting down with heavy rain. That's interesting. That is actually very, very interesting. I think I'm going to switch to the wet tyres. I'm going to take a gamble and see how this goes. I feel like maybe there could be an advantageous strategy to be gained here if everyone is tutoring around on intermediate tyres while we're on the wets.
Heavy rain to stay a while. Doesn't look like it's moving anytime soon.
That's what I thought too. So hopefully this massive gamble can play in our favour and we could potentially be leading a Formula 1 race in this McLaren Honda. If all things go well, then that is what we'll see. Because everyone else on the intermediate tyres are going to be struggling to put down the traction in these conditions, and we should just cruise our way to the front in just a whole matter of overtakes, or whether everyone else just pulls into the pit lane and fits on the wet compound tyres. I'm really excited for this race now. Now we're going to see a lot of overtakes potentially, but here we go, ready for the start of the Singapore Grand Prix. Let's hopefully get off to a nice and clean start. 5 red lights, and we're underway. How's the start? A little bit shaky in all honesty. The traction wasn't quite there. Their line just mugs us off the line as we head into turn 1. We've got Daniel Kvyat coming in like a torpedo into turn 1. Yes, I'm always going to make that joke, of course. But he follows us through the field and into P13, 14 possibly. No, he's right behind us in 13th place. So the inside line through turn 1 is definitely the way to go. I think Stroll got him back though. But either way, it's P12 for us. A net gain of 5 positions. Let's hopefully get some more. The back end is really lively on this first lap. So whether it's a case of me just getting a little bit too eager, too excited, or whether the intermediate tyres are actually the better tyre, that remains to be seen. The engineer is giving me a viable strategy change, which is not what you want to hear in the opening phases of the Grand Prix. You can see the massive gap that we've leaked as well. So even though it looks like it's heavy rain, and the engineer says it's heavy rain, the results are not. It doesn't look like the wets are suiting the current conditions, even though in theory they should be, which is really, really puzzling. It did say on the graphic that it was heavy rain for the start of this race, and the engineer did say the heavy rain was going to stick around for another 10, 20 minutes or whatever it was. We are absolutely struggling, and it looks like maybe the Inters are the better tyre to be on. But meanwhile, complaining about the weather at the moment, Daniel Ricciardo retired from the Grand Prix. He pulled off at that hairpin in the escape road, possibly a failure. I don't think he had damage. Normally if you do, you try and limp it back to the pits, but Daniel completely gave up the ghost, and so did Pascal Wehrlein, our new rival in the championship. And yeah, we could potentially see the occurrence of the safety car. Kimi Räikkönen, who was starting well down the order, has pulled into the pit lane right behind us, and I believe he's lost a bit of his front wing. So this is a very early change here. Are they going on to wet tyres? No, they're not, which is very, very frustrating. Since those guys behind me stopped in the massive train, I've decided that I'm going to stop as well. We've lost 15, 20 seconds to the cars in front, simply because we got the wrong tyre. Unfortunately, it just didn't work out, which, you know, it's completely my fault. I wanted to take the gamble. I wanted to see if I could get a podium or a race win or something crazy like that by going on a different strategy. It hasn't worked out. But can you blame me, to be fair? It did say it was going to be heavy rain for the first 10-15 minutes of the Grand Prix, and I thought we could have made something work out of that. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. As we rejoin on the track, it's going to be P17 possibly, as Lance Stroll overtakes us on the track. And yeah, we've got a lot of work to do from here. Hopefully, we can see the occurrence of the safety car to bring us back in the game. We're currently half a lap down on the leaders, but in terms of, you know, P12 downwards, we're still fairly close to those guys, and I think we could still make a good result of this race. We just need to pile on the pressure on the cars ahead and see what we can do as we finally get ourselves on the right compound. We are making moves here on Lance Stroll in the Williams, which is the best of the midfield cars. This car is light years ahead of mine, and yet we are overtaking him in wet conditions here in Singapore. Around the outside, can't quite get the move done there. Lance blocks the inside and basically, yeah, parks it on the apex and prevents us from overtaking. Can we get him back up the inside though into the right-hander? It's very, very easy to lock up an inside front. I could just feel like we were on the limit of grip there, trying to not running into the back of him and not make a mistake either, but we set up the move through the final corner. We're really close to him. Can we go for the dive into turn 1? Yes, we do. And we get the move done. We had to be very forceful though, as there was very limited areas for us to get the move done. We couldn't do it in the first sector, too many straights. Middle sector as well, there's not really many overtaking opportunities. And so the third sector is where we had to get it done, the most technical part of the track. And yeah, we finally made up a position in the Grand Prix. That's Fernando Alonso, who was getting overtaken by one of the Salvas. These two in front of us haven't stopped yet, whereas we have. So we're in a much better standing in this Grand Prix versus those guys. I believe they might be holding out for dry conditions. Apparently it is starting to get dry, and the engineer did say it was going to get dry towards the end on the predicted weather forecast. So we just need to get rid of Alonso here. It should be pretty easy. He's in a McLaren Honda himself, so we should be able to fly right past him on the straight with better traction. This is where he can make up so much time on fresher tyres. We stick it up into rich revs. Alonso doesn't defend, and we go up the inside into turn 1 and into position 15. Next up is Ericsson, so let's hopefully make some inroads on him. There's a few cars scattered up the road here and there. Most of the guys who were stuck in my train earlier on, so it looks like we're pretty pacey. Like, we have the best pace out of anyone in the bottom half of the grid, excluding Kimi Räikkönen. So we're moving our way up the field. We're making progress. It's just we need the safety car to really bail us out in order to get some points today. But once again, setting up the move on Ericsson, just like we did to Fernando Alonso. We're really strong through that final corner, and we're ranging up on him up the inside. Not quite close enough. Ericsson was pretty good under brakes there, and I wasn't quite close enough to safely pull off the move. But lap 15, we are losing the back end like crazy, really eager on the throttle in order to close the gap to Ericsson. We're diving up the inside of the hairpin, and he's still on the outside, but we have the better traction. We just seem to have the more stable chassis at this stage. The conditions are really playing into this car at the moment, and it's making for a really good race. A lot of overtakes and a lot of things being done. This is Ericsson himself diving into the pits for his first pit stop of the race. He was putting on the intermediate tyres as well. So all the guys who are, you know, in front of me who hadn't stopped yet, they're starting to make their stops now, and they're going on to inters again. But I've got to say, I feel like it's the wrong call, because we're only a few laps away from dry conditions. I guess that since they hadn't stopped yet, they just couldn't go any further on their tyres, and now it's really opened up the race for us now, as we're in the early teens of you know, track position, P12. So we're looking pretty good. We dive into the pits now on lap 22. The track has been slowly drying over the last few laps, and now we're finally at the stage where we can put on some slick tyres. We're going to go to ultras. Only have to do 8 laps from here, and we should be fine and dandy on tyre wear. It's just going to be down to us to chase down Kevin Magnussen for a spot inside the top 11. And that's pretty crucial as well, because from there, if there's any retirements or any kind of issues for the front runners, then we're inside the point. So that's what we're counting on. So it's down to us to chase him down for the remaining laps of the Grand Prix. Fernando is in. Again, he was already on the dry tyres, but he's decided to fit on a new front wing. So he's come together with somebody. Hopefully that can be the case for some of the guys towards the fronts. They were, negotiating some lap cars, or at least they should be starting to in the next few laps. But as the track continues to dry, everyone is setting purple laps in what seems like a happy hour stage, but that didn't last too long as the Ferraris really got up to speed in the dry conditions, and now Raikkonen overtakes me. I try and bang him back around the outside, though. Doesn't quite amount to anything. We try and go for a half move up the inside into the next right-hander. But Raikkonen, superior traction, just completely outclasses this car in every way. I think the Ferrari is the best chassis in 2017, and that's just further proof of that. Safety car was deployed with 4 laps to go. I think it was because Jolyon Palmer, I believe, has retired from the race, and we were not too far away from getting lapped as well. So that safety car really came out at the perfect time, and hopefully we can rejoin right onto the back of the queue and make a race of this with only a couple laps to go. We might get 1 lap under green flag racing, or 2. No. We're going to get 3, because the safety car is only going to stay out for about a lap, which is pretty outrageous, because most of the field hasn't caught up to it. Only like 8 cars or 9 cars are actually in the safety car queue, and the race is going to be resumed again. So whenever I've seen the safety car, we've never been able to capitalize on it, because the bloody thing doesn't stay out long enough for us to catch up, which is outrageous. So I think that definitely needs to be sorted out. The safety car does not stay out long enough for it to actually round up the entire grid. And Fernando Alonso, with only 2 laps to go, is out of this Singapore Grand Prix. So close, yet so far. Unfortunate that he had to retire, but there we go. That was the race. Valtteri Bottas won the Grand Prix after considerable pressure from Sebastian Vettel in the dying laps. He managed to hold on. Vettel in second. I think Hamilton might have got 3rd place as well, but for us, it's going to be P13. We did our best, but ultimately, it was the bad strategy call that really cost us today.
Good job, you did really well. Super driving.
So as I say that, we can see the drivers coming out now to collect their trophies. It's yet more silverware to take back to their base in Brackley after another excellent Grand Prix.
So there we go then. That has been the Singapore Grand Prix. Again, apologies about the strategy call. I thought it was worth the risk under heavy rain conditions at the start. I guess you've just got to trust the game and what tyre compounds it gives you. But we'll learn from that. We now know not to take too many risks with the tyre compounds at the start of the Grand Prix. The game always seems to know what's right. But Valtteri Bottas won the Grand Prix. Daniel Ricciardo retired. We lost Pascal Wehrlein, Palmer, and Fernando Alonso, and we were the last car to finish on the lead lap. So I was pretty proud about that. But it was definitely a weekend of what could have been. We could have been up there with Alonso. If we would have started on the intermediate tyres, who knows how much further up the grid we could have gone, but it wasn't to be. We dropped to 15th in the drivers' standings. Constructors, I think we're still in second last as well. So it's been a disappointing day, but at the same time, we got some really good battles in. We're still, learning. There's a lot to be learned from this first season. It's a massive learning curve, and it's only going to set us up better for Season 2 if we remember to learn from our mistakes. It's worth mentioning as well, I've been making this entire video during the rain delay of the Italian Grand Prix for qualifying that's going on right now. I was watching Q1, and the red flag came out, and this video was only half made. I've literally finished the video, and as I check the time now, there's still not even green flag running again. It's absolutely outrageous in how long the delays last for. But in terms of the update for the championship, we're beating our rival Pascal Wehrlein. This is the first time all season we're actually beating a rival, so things are looking good. We get to upgrade the engine finally. at a discounted price. That's the one that failed at the start of this episode. So that'll be coming in time for the Malaysian Grand Prix. I know at the start of the video I said Japan was up next. I forgot that they rearranged the calendar. They do that a bit. FIA or FOM every year just to keep us on our toes. But that is the rest of the season. After Malaysia, we only have 5 races left. So quickly coming to the end of Season 1 of F1 2017 Career Mode. How many races is it going to take for us to get a podium, to get a race win, and even, dare I say it, win the championship? This could be a long old career mode, but I'm really starting to enjoy it now. Now that I can see the fruits of our labour starting to come through, we're starting to make progress, which is always what you want to see. But thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more F1 2017 content. Until the next video, the Malaysian Grand Prix, which should be out tomorrow. I'll see you guys next time.